We're almost there.
1 more minute.
All right. I love it. The room is full of friends. That's so fun. I had prepared an extensive, ridiculous PowerPoint and decided no, because it had too many rabbit holes, right, to go down. So I'm going to introduce myself, my fabulous partner here, Talmage, and my friends from Hilo and the museum. So my name is Cindi Preller. I am the director of the Pacific Tsunami Museum. And our museum is turning 30 this year, and our founder is over here, Walt Dudley. Yay. Our museum was founded by Walt and Janie Johnston, and Janie is a Hilo. She grew up here in Hilo, and she was a survivor of 46. She was 6 years old, and her little brother, David, was 4. Yeah, and so they were out in Keaukaha. They actually ran into the brambles. They forgot their shoes. So that's actually one of the things you have to have in your go bag is shoes, right? You just have to wear your shoes. And I very rarely have mine handy, so I have a set in my go bag. So Jeannie and Walt got together. Walt has been gathering survivor interviews for years, decades, from all over the world. But so at the museum, we hold those stories, and we have so many stories of our Hilo families here. So just letting you know, please come. And please know that our walls are telling those stories, that we hold that memory. And also, our Hilo wouldn't be Hilo without our survivors, right? Our town has been destroyed twice, in 1946 and 1960. So this is something that is imminent in Talmage's mind, as well as Haima's. And the problem with tsunami is we don't have a season, you know, so any day, any morning, any holiday, any time, right? It can happen. I'm jealous that I don't get to have a season, right? Because you get that dedicated focus. So what we do instead is we use the commemoration of past events, right, as reminders. Any other ideas of how we can highlight tsunami? We have Tsunami Awareness Month in April, and we try to do a lot of work together for that. So prior to, well, really, why Hilo? Why is Cindi in Hilo, right? I love Hilo, by the way. Hilo's been a destination for me, well, 25 years at least. The first time I came to Big Island was when my daughter was 2, and I just aligned, right? Just clink, clink, clink. I could feel all the vertebrae in my back just line up, and I'm like, okay, I feel this. This is awesome. I had a mentor who at one point in time, his name is Don, he was the director of the Hawai'i Volcano Observatory in the 70s. And Kilauea Iki was his volcano. And Don came up to Alaska. I grew up in Colorado. I ended up in Alaska with the Park Service, finding old mines, which was sweet. I didn't get paid much, but man, I got to go. It was an incredible country. And then Don asked me to help him finish his life's work, which is a huge map. And so I did that with the USGS. And then he got a brain tumor. And boy, just a few months before he passed, when it was really taking over his mind, all of a sudden he was just like freaking out. And he was like, nobody knows, nobody remembers, nobody knows what to do. We have to tell them, we have to tell them. Like, what are you talking about? And it's like tsunami. It had been over 40 years since there had been a big tsunami. And, you know, if we don't have the events, we don't worry about the events. And honestly, I think I had maybe an hour on tsunamis in my graduate level oceanography courses. It was just not something anybody talked about, right? So I'm like, okay, tsunami, what is tsunami? I wasn't even sure. And he was here in '60. He was part of the USGS crew that came down and went through the police lines to do the original scientific studies. And the studies that they did set the standard for how one studies post-tsunami disaster. So anyway, he was starting to relive 1960 here in Hilo. And so it's just big full circle. I feel like I belong. I feel like Don's been holding my hand the whole way. And then I guess, I don't know, well, 10, maybe longer, 15 years ago, Walt and Jeannie came to Alaska to collect survivor interviews for 1964. And I got to go with them. It was life-changing. just to watch these people tell their stories, some of them for the first time ever. It was incredibly cathartic. It was life-changing. So anyway, that is my bond to the museum. And so I'm so glad to be leaving federal service and be able to still serve. It's the same mission. I mean, for us in the Weather Service, it's to protect lives and property. For us at the museum, it is to make sure nobody in Hawai'i specifically dies from a tsunami again. So we are on the education side, and I will do anything and everything I can to help my partners figure out what they need to do, right? But mostly, what do you need to do? You know, the motto is the last mile, the last kilometer, the last cabin. We want to make sure everybody knows what to do. So that is the mission of the museum, as well as the mission of emergency management. So I'm really just going to talk story today. I'd like to take your questions if you have any, and I'm really glad my partners are here because some of these questions are better answered by them. And just to let you know, previously I spent about 20 years in the Weather Service at both tsunami warning centers. And I've been on duty for every single event except one in 2011. So people didn't like being on duty with me. I don't know. Anyway, it's really interesting being in our own operations center. It's 24/7, and it is earthquake driven. So each warning center is basically feeling the pulse of the planet seismically, and it is the seismometers that determine where the earthquake is and how we warn. The warning centers cannot warn for landslide. They cannot detect them, right? Japan can. Japan is way, way cool. They've got all this instrumentation, and so they can warn better than we can, and they can help us learn how to do it better too, right? So I just wanted to pull up the Warning Center's website so you can see. I can certainly talk to exactly what happens and why. But one of the things I wanted to bring up was the difference between 1960 and now. And I am with Talmadge. I really don't want to talk about Lahaina. However, I got hit up by some reporters that wanted me to compare Lahaina to 1960. It's like, okay, maybe. No, right? No, everything's different. Our technology is different. Our populations are different. The way we communicate is different. Everything is, but yes, 2 Hawaiian towns have been destroyed by disaster. So yes, we've got that. And yes, we've got response. And yes, we've got recovery. And so there's some things that don't change, but in the 60s, and I don't, is Dave still here? Dave's not still here. Okay, well, in the 60s, I think there were just maybe 2 seismometers in this state. I know there were only 3 in Alaska. And so for the Warning Center to locate and determine what the hazard is quickly, they need lots and lots and lots of seismometers, right? It's just instrumentation. A seismometer is the instrument that measures how the earth is shaking. So now there are lots, there's thousands. And the warning centers share all around the world. They, yes, they detect earthquakes for every single place on the planet. There are 2 spots that will not share data. One is India and the other is China. That's political, it's ridiculous. But the truth of it is well, North Korea's in there too. But when something happens, we still see it. I mean, the seismic waves travel through the planet and everybody sees them. So, for example, I was on duty for one of North Korea's tests. You can see that seismically. It doesn't look like an earthquake. It's a completely different waveform. But it was like, okay, that is what I think that is. Right? I've never seen that before. Anyway, I didn't know what to do, so I called the State Department. I figured they probably knew. Right? What do you do with that? So, both warning centers work together conjunctly, and they have each other's backs, but we're not the only ones. There are warning systems all over the world, and all of us work together. So Japan, believe it or not, Tahiti has the oldest one. Yeah, Tahiti, little teeny Tahiti. But Chile is, because it's such a long, skinny country, and they don't have that many seismometers way up in the Andes, they definitely need everybody's help, right? Even the Mediterranean has warning systems, because Portugal had a pretty big event in 1700. Is that the right date? 17 something. 16 something. Okay, 1700 was Cascadia, which by the way is overdue at this point. And how do we know that? So people that are much stronger than me with much stronger backs, young, go out and they dig these cores. Walt has done this, and looking through soils, you can see tsunami deposits in the soils. And what it usually looks like is a thin layer of sand where there shouldn't be, right? Because the tsunami brought all the sand up, way up, right? And one of the places where we've got excellent deposits, sadly, is Waipio, way up valley, right? So we can look at these records and we can age based on the soils how often the interval is. I am a geologist, so my sense of time is a little different than lots of folks. So the reoccurrence intervals for these big events is 400 to 600 years, plus or minus 200 years. Right? Everybody feel confident with that? Yeah. No, it's crazy. There was one time on duty that we had 17 tsunamis in 2 weeks. So there isn't, you cannot rely on, okay, this kind of stress is building up at this rate, so therefore we're going to have a great earthquake at this point, at this time. We can't do that. And even the quote early warning system, that should not be used. It's a political term. There's no such thing. So the early warning earthquake system in California that they're developing, it's very cool, but it's buying people like maybe 30 seconds. So that's not really early, right? It helps, but it's not early. I was in my first hurricane evacuation a couple of years ago on Oahu, and I could not believe it. We had days. I didn't know what to do with myself. Days. Really? Oh, okay, get more sandbags. Okay, days. That was a luxury, really. We don't have that luxury with tsunami. We're lucky with hours. So the warning centers now, because of the instrumentation, can get them, especially, so for us here in Hawaii, if we have a local event, I am confident that PTWC will know the solution to that event and be able to get a message out, depending on who's on duty, 3 minutes to 6 minutes, depending on who's on duty, right? And just if they're really good at the software or not. But even 6 minutes is good, right? For sure. If you're in Kalapana and part of the shelf slides off, you don't have 6 minutes. So for the local tsunami, there's two kinds of tsunamis really, there's more than two, but there's the distant tsunami, which are the big subduction zone earthquakes where Hilo gets hit. Tsunamis wrap around islands, so it does not matter which part of the rim they come from, but historically it's been Alaska, Japan. Chile can send one to us, of course. Cascadia can. Even Guam over in the Marianas, anywhere around the rim that has those big earthquakes can send a tsunami to Hawaii. We're right in the middle of the bullseye. The shortest travel time is 4.5 hours from Alaska. They travel the speed of an airplane in the open ocean, so they're fast. In 46, we actually had a pilot, right, that the tsunami passed this pilot who was driving down the coast in Oahu and called into FAA and said, hey, a really fast wave just passed me. So there were a couple of indications where we could have had warning in 46. So 60, we did have warning. We really did. But there had been warnings before where no tsunami had materialized. It was in the middle of the night. And, I don't think people knew to take it seriously. It had been a while, 14 years since the last one. So anyway, people were warned and didn't heed the warning. So we can't have that happen again. We need to be serious when we do it. And I can tell you that the warning center's pad, there's a lot of conservation that is built into the system. So for example, the most damaging tsunamis, damage starts at 50 centimeters, which is just about this much. So the level for the warning centers to issue an advisory is 30 centimeters. So it's padded by 20, right? 30 centimeters is a foot. That's people, especially boat people, ocean people, they're like, foot of water. But a foot of water going that fast with that much force is still very, 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 very dangerous. And that's why we evacuate the beaches and the harbors for that kind of situation. We don't want to evacuate a town if we don't need to. So that's me, my background. I wanted to bring this page up because this is the main page if there's a warning or not. PTWC issues 4 messages. So if that bar turns purple, it's a threat message, which means it's an international message because PTWC cannot tell another country to evacuate. So it can just say, hey, Tonga, you might want to consider it, but Tonga's got to do that. They have to issue that message. If it turns red, it's a warning. Now the thing is it doesn't mean it's a warning for Hawaii, right? These guys serve the world. So you got to look and read the message. But the real thing is you got to listen to county and you got to listen to the state. If PTWC issues a warning that is going to impact Hawaii, the entire state goes into warning from these big events. But really, the entire state may not be impacted, right? So this is something where in the background, PTWC is talking with Hawaii Emergency Management and the counties and telling them what the models are saying. So it gets pretty confusing pretty quickly, but it's better to practice. It's just better to just go ahead and do the safe thing. Go ahead and figure out where your evacuation routes are. Go ahead and prepare. Time yourself. See how long it takes. Make that plan ahead of time. Figure out where Tutu is or who's going to take care of, Grandpa who has a walker, figure all that out ahead of time. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to show you here is the latest messages. There's one in Alaska and there's one down, it looks like Fiji, possibly Tonga. Yep, Tonga. And then these are the messages themselves. So if it says AKBCUS, that's the Alaska Warning Center. If it says Hawaii Information, that's us, that's PTWC. And the messages themselves are boring and they have a lot of information in them about what it means. This one's nice and small because it's small. But if it were a real warning, like there's Vanuatu, so you can keep an eye on what the centers have been doing just by looking at these messages. But one of the things I wanted to show you that's pretty cool is here in historic. Actually, believe it or not, they put it in recent. It's not recent. So these are all the tsunamis that have been detected, and unfortunately the person that was doing this page is retired. So it's not up to date, sadly. That's what happens. But let's go on down to March of 2011. There it is, right? Because this impacted Hawaii. So it's going to give you a little synopsis. It's going to show you the travel time. So it looks like it's about 7 hours, 8 hours to Hawaii. These things are absolutely available. It's going to give you an energy map. And I remember at the time, so the energy of the tsunami on the right side, it's showing you wave height. The energy is perpendicular to the rupture of the earthquake. Right, so it's going like that. The tsunami, what makes a tsunami is that the entire water column of the ocean has been disturbed by massive energy from these earthquakes. So if we think about massive energy, a magnitude 9.5 from Chile can power the planet for over 500 years. That's a lot. 500 years of energy in one release, one earthquake, right? During Japan, it wasn't just one earthquake, it was actually 3. So it was 3 energy packets. There was a 7.9, there was an 8.8, and there was a 9. So those are way bigger than just one earthquake. But if you were to look this up, you wouldn't know that it was 3. They always just talk about the 9, right? But when you're there watching the it's a lot more than that. This map got used inappropriately multiple times. Like the media would like super enlarge it to see what color the pixel was in their town. It's not meant for that, no way. But the other thing is people were saying that this was radiation from Fukushima. No. But what I wanted to show you that I really like is that you can see every single water level gauge in the ocean that measured the tsunami all the way around. So there's Japan. So let's just look at Japan really quick. Let's look at Hawai'i. Okay, so this is what's called a merogram. And it's basically high tide, low tide. You can see the blue line goes up and down. So the red one on top has the tide, and the green one on the bottom is de-tided. It matters what tide, when the tsunami arrives, if it arrives at high tide or at king tide, that's bad, right? That just means the flooding is going to be even worse, right? The other thing about this is the bottom line is hours. So the Japan event went 4.5 days. That's a long time. So when we tell people to evacuate, it's not just for a few hours. It could actually be weeks. And then depending on recovery, it could be months before you're back into the zone that county has determined it's safe, right? You can see that it's a lot of waves. So one of the problems, especially historically, is people always thought it was just one wave because the period is deceiving, right? It can be 20 to 30 minutes between waves, right? And also, if it arrives and pulls the ocean out, our harbor drained in 46 and 60. Hilo Bay drained. That's bizarre, right? Don't you just want to go look at it? Check it out? There's free fish flopping. Don't you want to get those fishes? Cool new tide pools, right? Yeah, no, please go. Please take everybody with you, right? This tells me that the very first motion of the earthquake, see how it spikes up like that? That means the first motion was up. Are you getting me time? How much time do I have left? I got 8 minutes. Okay, I just wanted to show you guys these things because they're fascinating. So let's go look at Hawai'i. Wrong one? Wrong one. Okay, we'll just go back. Wrong one. March. There we go. Okay, Hawaii's down here. How about Ka'alui and Maui? Well, let's see what we've got. We want Hawai'i. Well, we can look at here, but you know, most of the damage was on the other side, but this is how 2011 arrived here at our tide gauge in the harbor. So we definitely measured it. On the left is centimeters. And I'm thinking, you know, that first arrival was actually pretty high. Afterwards, it stayed in the advisory level. So I can just do this for hours. So how about, does anybody have any questions? Yes, Randall.
How wide is a tsunami? I never thought of that.
How wide?
Yeah.
Wow.
Miles and miles.
Oh, yeah. Well, the ruptures, the big earthquake ruptures are at least 1,000 miles. But I mean, really wide. They become ocean wide. They fill the basin, the whole basin.
And does the energy kind of dissipate at the edges?
It does. It does. That's what that energy map is showing you, that the main force of energy will be perpendicular to the rupture.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. And the thing is because it's the whole ocean column, the sea floor and the mountain ranges on the sea floor determine directionality of how it flows. So that's pretty cool.
So it's still water in that. It will find its level. It will go to the least resistance. But it's water at a nuclear level. You want to say, right?
Bigger than that. Yeah. Definitely bigger than nuclear.
Interesting combination of.
Yeah. Well, you put that much energy into water, which doesn't compress. It takes time to find its level again. So with this event in particular, it took 4.5 days.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry?
Density of the ocean, the density, the bottom's denser than the top, doesn't move at a different level.
It doesn't. That's a great question.
The energy moves at the same speed.
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's a lot of energy.
Cindi, can you?
You know, if you ever get the chance to see a tsunami, because we can have little tsunamis, just like little earthquakes. That's actually really cool and really rare, right? And what you are seeing is the translation of earthquake energy. 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay. What I didn't talk about, which is super important, is the local tsunami, which can happen from a landslide, does not require an earthquake, can be below sea level, so you don't even hear it. You won't know, right? But you will, if you're close to it, you will feel it, maybe, right? And if that shaking lasts for longer than 20 seconds, and this is something you need to practice, because time gets funky in earthquakes, right? So practice counting slowly, 20 seconds. I have the kids count their favorite things. 1 chocolate, 2 chocolate, right? But you can also put your hand on your heart in a situation like that. That signals to your brain to calm down. If you're next to the water and it's shaking that hard, you gotta go while it's shaking. Yeah.
Back to the earthquake tsunamis.
Yeah.
My husband and I, we're at the beach and there is a little joke. We're out of there. We're not waiting for any sirens to go off.
Good.
You know, we grew up with tsunamis. So we go, get out of there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you do. And so please spread that word. Thank you very much. And please come by the museum if you'd like to docent, right? I'd love to have you. Absolutely. So the local tsunami is critical. Hawaii can absolutely have them. We had a decent one in 1975 in Hilo. We lost lives, right? If the shaking is intense, the warning system is trying to get a message out in 5 minutes. But the truth of it is a tsunami can arrive in less than 2 minutes. So you really don't have time. And the shaking, Alaska shook for 5 minutes. Chile probably shook for more than 12 minutes. Long time. You don't have time to wait until the shaking stops. It's scary. Something to practice. Okay, anybody else? Yeah?
You have a on there.
Do I have?
People had a slide. That was a landslide. That's enough.
Yeah.
A slide.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about that? The Pupo slide?
A slide outside of Puko when it was underwater. Had a slide. It was a couple of years ago. I was in Kona and my house shook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody remember that?
I'm remembering a story about somebody that was scuba diving during that.
I know fishermen that were out there at the time and they saw that
They saw that.
because it sucked.
Yeah, right? It sucks the water with it and then it bounces back. Did we see it? You know what, I'm gonna look that up. Leave me a way to contact you and I'll see if I can find it. Just for you? Okay. Okay. You can call PTWC, by the way. 747-6300. Anytime. That's their ops number. That's right in ops. So yeah, I guess you can tell them Cindi sent you. They'll curse me. But honestly, they would love to look that up for you.
Because it wasn't really good shape. You were out by the spectrum.
Right. And it was a landslide. Yeah, so you're telling me I need to add that to my landslide exhibit. Yes. Yeah, we do.
It's interesting because it's right there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of first-hand people that saw.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. I think I'm done. I think I'm done. Yeah.